And we are following Nikki Haley, who's crisscrossing this state like nobody's business right now. She's trying to narrow that gap in a state that she used to be considered to have to win. Of course, you heard Chris Sununu a short time ago saying, she doesn't have to win. She just has to place very well, whatever that means. Nikki Haley had some sort of perspective on this. Happy birthday wishes are in order, Governor. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Are you going to have any time today to celebrate or do anything?
No, we have a country to save.
Okay.
We are going to be all over New Hampshire again today, and crisscrossing, I mean, it's really important. This is what it's all about. And, I think a year from today will be Inauguration Day.
That's right.
And when you think about that, you think about the heaviness of what's happening, what Americans are feeling with the economy, with the border, with, the lack of transparency and education, our kids not reading, but the wars around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot there, and we've got to get this right.
Last night, I don't know if it was a birthday bummer ahead of time, but Tim Scott, as you know, endorsed Donald Trump. Were you surprised, disappointed?
Look, I mean, South Carolina is a blood sport. And I have dealt with the old guard and the fellas for a long time. I mean, Trump
But you appointed him senator.
I did, and it was the right thing to do.
Did you feel like, hey?
No, I mean, look, everybody has a decision to make, and they have to live with their decision. He'll have to live with his. What I know is we're going to continue to go forward. Trump has focused a lot of time on getting as many Washington insiders, elected officials, endorsements as he can. If you notice, I haven't tried to do any of that for the simple reason of, in South Carolina, you won't see a lot of legislative endorsements for me because I forced them to have to show their votes on the record. I forced them to have ethics reform. I called out Republicans and Democrats for spending. I vetoed $500 million of their spending. In Congress, I have said we need to have term limits. I've said we need to have mental competency tests. I've told them that if they can't get us a budget on time, they're not going to get paid. I have never gone and tried to get as many elected officials' endorsements as I can, because that's not who I'm fighting for. Was there something else going
on, Governor, or something personal, or there's an animus there that we didn't know, we kind of picked up on during the campaign?
No, you'll have to ask him.
Yeah,
I mean, I was never anything but good to him.
Yeah.
And that's the way, I think that what you do is you make the best decisions. I tried to make the best decisions, as governor and as ambassador. He made this decision. That's his to live with. Mine is to focus on making sure we're touching as many heads.
Did he call you to tell you ahead of time he was going to do this?
He did not.
A lot of people are saying maybe that's the ticket if Donald Trump would have the nomination, and that's his running mate. I
mean, I think he's going to be disappointed when Trump doesn't win.
Okay. Speaking of President Trump, he is revved up the name calling with you, and now a new nickname for you is Nimbra. It's a play off your birth name. Then it's Nimrod, and he goes back and forth. But a lot of people are interpreting that as racial zingers. Do you see it that way?
I don't. Politics is not personal for me. But what this
But
does,
what do you think of that? What do you think's going on?
It's what he does. This is what he does when he feels insecure. This is what he does when he feels threatened. I worked with him. I know exactly how he is. He starts
But he never did
out.
that when you worked with him?
No, because he thought I did a great job, and he said I was tough, and he said that I was the best UN ambassador they ever had, and he always told everybody, don't mess with me, because, she's a killer. She's going to make sure that she keeps America strong. He praised me constantly, and we had that. But this is what I'll tell you about that is this is why we have a choice. We either stick with the same or we go forward. You've got, whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, they take politics so personally. We can't have a country in disarray and a world on fire and have these fellas have thin skin to where they go and name call and do all of these things. I look at it as 70% of Americans don't want to see a Trump-Biden rematch for a reason. You look at the fact that both of these guys are going to be in their 80s. And we've got a lot going on. Do you really want to do that?
Do you think he's appealing to that base of his that likes comments like Nimbra and all this other stuff?
Maybe. I mean, it's not for me to sit there.
That?
To me, I don't sit there and push people away. Yeah. I think that's the problem with the Republican Party. I bring people in. And what's happened with the Republican Party is they're deciding what's a good Republican, what's a bad Republican. Who's the right Republican, who's the wrong Republican. Do we really want to get that? Because that's not how you win a general election. There was a poll that came out yesterday, and it shows in New Hampshire, I beat Biden. Donald Trump loses New Hampshire by 7 points. You look at the general head-to-heads. It's going to be a nail-biter of an election. I don't know if we'll win. On a good day, Trump's up by 2. I defeat Biden by 17 points. Now, that's a Wall Street Journal poll. Trump called it a dirty poll. That was his own pollster that did it. But more than that, let me tell you this. Look at what happened last night. Here you go. And Trump has been saying all kinds of lies. He said, I raised taxes. I didn't. He proposed a 25-cent gas tax increase to all of us back in 2018. He said, I didn't want to secure the border. I actually passed the toughest illegal immigration law in the country when I was governor. He said I wasn't for election integrity. I passed voter ID in 2012 when nobody was talking about voter ID. So I was a Tea Party governor, but he can say those things. But this is what gets me. You look at the rally last night, and he blamed me for not allowing security at the Capitol for January 6th. I wasn't anywhere near the Capitol.
I think he meant Nancy Pelosi.
No, but look at how many times he said it.
Yeah.
Then he's gone.
Is that an old age?
And then he's gone and said that he defeated Barack Obama. I'm not saying that this is a Joe Biden situation, but I'm saying, are we really going to go and have two 80-year-olds running for president?
He did repeat that a number of times.
He repeated it over and over again.
Do you think that gets enough attention? Do you think it should get attention?
Well, it's whether the media reports it or not. Mine is, it's the same reason why I want mental competency tests for people in Congress. We need people at the top of their game. We need people that are focusing on national security. These are people making decisions on the future of our economy. Do we really want them throwing out names and getting things wrong when they're 80 and having to deal with Putin and Xi and Kim in North Korea? We can't do that. This is not, I voted for Trump twice. I agree with a lot of his policies. But rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him. And you look at the mannerisms, and a year from today, do we really want our kids growing up in a country where you're not sure whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump? I don't know that Trump can beat Biden. But you're dealing with this situation where our leaders say we don't have people at the top of their game. That worries me.
Well,
I'm doing this because I don't want my kids to live like this.
If he is that person sworn in a year from today, I know you hope just the opposite. What do you think a second term of Donald Trump would be like?
Well, what worries me is if you look at the fact he's someone who praises dictators often. And we've got a war in Europe, a war in the Middle East. You've got North Korea testing intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of hitting the U.S., China on the march. And what did he do? He praised President Xi a dozen times after China gave us COVID. He has continued to say Kim Jong-un is his, is a good friend and that they write love letters to each other. You can't deal with dictators like that. I dealt with China, Russia, and Iran every day. They laugh at that. They don't take that seriously. And we've got to make sure we're doing everything we can to prevent wars. My husband is deployed right now. I don't want any man and woman to have to go fight in a war. But in order to prevent wars, you've got to be at the top of your game, and you've got to make sure that you're letting those countries know what you expect of them. You can't have Biden and Trump, they're all caught up in investigations. They're all caught up in these other things. None of them are talking about the future of this country and the vision in which we're going to go forward. That's a problem. And then you look at both of them, put us trillions of dollars in debt. Our kids are never going to forgive them for that.
You make some very potent points, though, Governor. But
listen to this.
You fear that it's falling on deaf ears in New Hampshire. I mean, you trail here. Do you have to win here?
It's not falling on deaf ears in New Hampshire. It's falling on deaf ears with the media. It's amazing to me that the media is obsessed. We look at the polls, right? So you don't buy the polls? Or you think you can win this? Well, a poll 3 days ago said that I was tied with Trump at 40. A poll yesterday said that I was down with Trump by 15 points. To me, the poll's going to matter on Tuesday.
And what I will tell you is,
it's not about winning the state. I've been consistent from the very beginning. What I said is I want to be strong in Iowa. I want to be even stronger in New Hampshire. And then I want to be stronger in that in South Carolina.
So strong in New Hampshire doesn't mean necessarily winning it, just being a strong second?
We won't know until the numbers come out.
Fair enough.
But making sure that we continue to be strong. I want to be stronger than I was in Iowa. And then we're going to South Carolina. And we're going to continue to be strong.
What do you think of Ron DeSantis going to South Carolina?
I mean, I don't think you skip states. I don't think you don't leapfrog which state you want to play in and which one you don't. He's been invisible in New Hampshire. He's been invisible in South Carolina. He's closer to zero than he is to me in either one of those states. But that's his choice if that's what he wants to do. Because
he had said of the endorsement of Tim Scott that it's a blow to Nikki Haley.
I mean, look, I won that state twice as governor. I know South Carolina very well. No endorsement is going to be a blow to me because when I ran against the longest serving legislator in South Carolina, I didn't get a single endorsement. When I ran as governor, I ran against a lieutenant governor, an attorney general, a very popular congressman, and a state senator. I was Nikki, who I had 3% in the polls. The old guard did not want me. They did the same thing that I'm seeing happen now, and I didn't care. I went through and I fought and I won anyway. When you fight for the people fight back for you. When you fight for elected officials and endorsements, that doesn't get you anything. They've wasted a lot of time on these endorsements. What I'm going to waste time on or really fight for is making sure that I don't focus on the politicians. I focus on the people on the ground. That's what we've done, and that's what we'll continue. We're getting hundreds of people in our rallies last night, the night before. People want something different. It's not about liking Donald Trump or not. It's about the fact that we can't afford to not win in November. We can't afford to get this wrong. And when you look at those polls, I win every single swing state. Donald Trump does not. We can't have a President Kamala Harris. And what I've said to everybody is don't complain about what happens in a general election if you don't really play in this primary. Because we can't afford a President Kamala Harris, and it's all over if that happens. And Joe Biden's not going to last. And we've got to get past the fact that we're going to keep putting these same people in there that are not moving our country forward, but they're holding us back and they're living in the past. We can't continue to do that.
Governor, thank you very much. Try to have a birthday, a cake, or something along the way. But very good seeing you.
Thank you. Go to NikkiHaley.com and join us. We're going to do this.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.